Hello, everybody, and welcome back to SimSeniors. Welcome to the 8th season. Once again, my name is Ben Sapsford, aka Sapitron. I will be your host and your guide through tonight's racing here at Misano. Now, we've had a good few rounds in the championship at this point. We've had a lot of ups and downs for some of the drivers, some races to forget, and some races to remember. But the big thing here is that we have got plenty to look forward to still. We're coming up to that halfway point, of course, and this is where we're starting to see some real championship battles begin to solidify. So we will, of course, see those stories unfold, but before we do that, of course, thank you to everyone who joins us, whether you're a racer, whether you are joining us on the Monday Night Championships or any of the other offerings at SimSeniors, or if you're here watching us at home on the live stream, please do give yourselves a little bit of a pat on the back, because we do appreciate you being here, as always. And if you consider supporting us, then please do give a bit of a like on the stream, give us a subscription if you are interested in keeping up with the championship in full. And if you want to get involved yourselves, we've got our Facebook page as well as the Discord once you've joined that, to enable yourself to get involved and have a little bit of fun. But tonight is a love it or hate it track. Now, Misano is one of those tracks where many drivers can take it or leave it. It's particularly around turn 1 to 3. It is a little bit of drama. It's one of those tracks where you can very easily find yourself caught out if you're not careful. And it is a track which has seen its fair share of incidents and a little bit of controversy from the grid. Now, myself personally, of course, as a spectator and as a commentator, I do find it quite entertaining, but the drivers are very much of two minds from what I've heard, and we will see how that plays out in full this evening. Of course, taking us through your setup and your drivers of choice for tonight. Looking first at the gold class, indicated by the white driver numbers on the timing boards, we have all of our beautiful racers listed on screen. Key players: David Lindblom currently sits with 42 points and leads the Season 8 Championship, but not by much, because you have a tie for second and third. It's Grosges and Peter Wolfslener, both in the Bentleys, really showing the strength of that V8 Brute, and both tied up with 40. Closely following is going to be Oscari Herme, who had a proper performance last time out in the Ferrari, and then fifth is Frederick Guillemard in the Ford Mustang. Both of them on 35 points, and actually sharing 35 points with Jimmy Engdahl in the Nismo. So massive fighting, plenty to play for in the gold class of the championship. Now, moving on to the silvers, and where things stay just as interesting, but not quite with the tie-ups that you see. A couple less drivers to be contesting in that regard. You have Richard Cook in the Mustang, leading with 41 points, followed closely by Adam Ostrachaz with 38. 32 is going to go to James Payton, and Matthias Holmberg is going to be on 31 points in the Ferrari 296 GT3. Close behind, though, is Damian Reed, who's on 27 points. Unfortunately, they could have been seeing themselves a lot higher up, but they have 13 points of penalties under their belts that they are having to deal with, and that is going to bring them down massively. Finally, before we go trackside, we have to talk about the bronze class, and Anthony Hebert in the Ferrari currently sat at 42 points and is the car to beat, although closely followed by Bruce Hopkins in the Vantage. Alex North is a single point behind as well, and another single point behind that is Carl Thompson in the Nismo. Fifth place is going to be a toss-up between Glenn Parkinson and John Gabbert, both in the McLaren 720Ss. And what we have in the end is a set of drivers who, regardless of the class, are going to be giving it their all. So we are going to go trackside. We are going to see what these racers are truly capable of. As you can hear the roars of the engines. Qualifying is now underway in full. We've just got the outlaps now, and then we'll be jumping in with our drivers. But let us know in the chat who you're rooting for. Let us know who you want to see topping those timing boards, topping the races as well. And then we will get ourselves trackside. And what a better place to jump in than with Richard Cook leading the queue, and currently being the first driver out, closely followed, believe, by Lenatus and Lindblom. And then that is, I also believe, going to be one of the Bentleys. I believe that is Wolfslander there. We'll see what these drivers can really do when push comes to shove. But Cook is going to be extending out a little bit. And they are going to be the driver to watch as they round out the final corner to get this lap started. There we go, on board with Richard Cook. Let's take a little bit of an onboard perspective as we can see what they are really doing here. So riding your way through the first couple of corners, and then you have the tail, Curva del Rio. That is going to be a tight, sharp, multi-apex corner. Then you bow out through the left-hander, open it up for the back straight. You can see some entry and exit points for other layouts as well. But we are, of course, running the full Misano circuit. Heavy on the brakes, down to about 80. Oh, a little bit too deep there. That's not going to be ideal. And this is where we're going to be switching perspectives. It's going to be back up to the Audi. Familiar face as the first to set the times out. It's going to be Lenatus in that number 12. Let's see how they can do here. So takes the lead of the session away from the lovely Richard Cook. You can see a couple of curves to the right before having to jump on the brakes a little bit more, down to 150 as they make their way through Curva del Carro. And then last couple of left-handers before you round the lap out. Now, question is, who's going to be that benchmark? Who is going to be the car to beat with the first set of runs? Lenatus, of course, burst across the line, but will that be conducive to a first time? It's a 135 flat, and immediately it's going to be displaced. There's Wolfslander for 34.0, Engdahl 34.6, Guillemard goes even faster in the Mustang 33.7 here. Wolfpack Racing really pushing that boat out and showing why they have been a team that's popular with the top of the grid. Björklund, Larson, all making their way through now. Holmberg, going to be just a few of the names now making their way across. Justin Cutler, of course, a driver that has been promoted up following a strong showing in previous season up into P6. I do apologise, by the way, if there is a couple of coughs here and there. I am still recovering with what may be a chest infection, but we'll have to wait and see if the doc's going to get back to me on that one. Nothing to worry about, however. Ostrachars, Lenatus, of course, being now displaced now to 10th place. Derek Bird makes his way through. Liam Blom only up into second, but it's by a hair's breadth. You've only got about 12 milliseconds split between the two. You'll see the kind of deltas that are now going to get put down. We can see that Liam Blom is already on the improvement. A few more cars making their way around the track all the same. A couple of yellows being flagged as drivers abandon their runs and RTP in order to get themselves set up for the next one. A couple of racers now making their way through, but we're going to keep our eyes firmly trained on the Monster Energy Nismo of David. They're making swift work of the rest of the circuit here. And tailing behind the BMW, I believe that is of Ostrachars there. So a little bit wider of an arc. You can see really making use of the track limits. The BMW is going to yield. And then here we are through the last couple of corners in the lap here now. Caro. And then Curva Misano, aptly named. You can see the lettering on the apex as Lindblom makes his way through. This could be a generational time. It's a .175, so he's absolutely shot Guillemard, or Guillemard, correct me if I'm pronouncing that wrong this whole time. I would feel very bad for it. But has shot it down by 0.6 of a second. So the field has definitely got their work cut out for them. We're going to jump to the other Nismo in the same cohort. It is going to be Engdahl, potentially pushing up to that podium spot. Remember, just a couple of tenths here. Although he's dealing with a bit of traffic. could push him up to that fabled podium. Although it looks like other podium sitters are making improvements of their own, so not sure whether that would last. You've got Wolfson literally a couple of cars behind. Richard Cook also in that push. There you go. Here's Engdahl into third. Is he going to get displaced? Wolfslener, 33.6 is going to make it so. Guillemard going to also leapfrog and do one better. So that is going to be a hefty push down. Björklund in the Mustang doing the same. And even more cars flying their way through. Let's check in on Derek Bird, another gold class runner. Very striking in the Porsche. That is the number 701. 19th current. Can it be a jump? P15, nicely done. Just checking on some of the other class runners as well. You got Patrick Larson running in the Ferrari, so about half a tenth of a second up. And I swear, every time I jump onto this track and onto this series, more and more cars become adorned with a Wolfpack livery. Maybe it's just where we happen to jump the camera, who knows, but certainly seeing the fair share of the team representation. We have Alex North just going across the line here. That's going to be him into P16 with a solid improvement. Now, a few more cars do need to get their way up the order. Current standing best is a 133.175, with the cars averaging about a 134.5. You've got some either side of that, but the drivers do want to start pushing at this point. 7 minutes on the clock. Track nice and warm despite the overcast look. It is still 29 degrees on that track surface. With a sharp G, Swedish pronunciation, so JMR. Am I getting that right? Yeah, and so I do appreciate everyone who jumps in and corrects me on pronunciations. Rather get it right. There we go. A couple more cars now making their way through. We do see a few making some improvements. Here's Randy Zimmer, for example, in the Ferrari. Has got a chance to leapfrog and make some jumps on his class here. P20 standing. Will this jump up? It's P12. So that's going to be 5th in class for the 296 here. So Wilson is going to be the car to beat. Currently in the pits. Will anyone make that challenge? Lenatus in 2nd. And Kamara in 3rd. And looking to the bronze, it is Alex North who holds that top honour. Followed by Hebert, the championship leader, and Carl Thompson. So it really is a battle of the championship pro tags here, at least where the bronzes are concerned, for pole. But you can argue that for everyone else out here too, because, well, there's just so many championship fights going on right now that it really is tough to call. We've got Glenn Parkinson coming up to the line in the McLaren, 26th to 23rd. That's going to leapfrog him a healthy couple of places. So with that, it's going to land him in 2nd place for the group. It's going to cause a little bit of an upset. As far as standings are concerned, we are 5 minutes out, ladies and gentlemen, from the end of qualifying. And as things currently stand, it's looking, again, fairly segmented. But there is still plenty of track time. The race and qualifying are going to be pretty intense start to finish. Explaining pronunciation in writing is difficult. Yeah, you got that right. You certainly got that right. I'll say I will work on it. I'll try and get it right best I can. We have a couple more cars making some serious headway and some improvements. We've got Rog here. He never fails to impress. Very bright. It's that chrome pink colour. The number 420. It looks to be making about a second's worth of improvement. So this could put him up a few places. Even if not the position count he wanted. Half a second is a substantial amount of time. So it makes the improvement. Unfortunately not in position. But certainly draws it closer. A few more cars now making their way round. But you're seeing some drivers also commit to the pit lane. We have, for example, Lindblom, got a 32.7. Doesn't seem to be chomping at the bit to get out back on that racetrack. So we just had, you just saw there, that was the number 230 car, Patrick Larson. They just had a bit of an off on the penultimate corner. They will be retiring themselves out to the pits. And we'll see if anyone's going to be pushing for any further jumps. Quite used to having the names battered. Well, I don't want it to be that way, so I do appreciate you jumping in there. Eyes on a few different cars as we round out this session. 3 minutes on the clock. That's going to give a chance for at least one more solid lap, if not two, if the drivers are committed. T.R. Heber is going to be, of course, the racer to beat in the Bronze Championship. Currently, though, he only sits P4 in quali. So we'll see what kind of times he's able to put down here. Currently looking like they could leapfrog all the way up into P21st or 22nd. Let's see here. And oh, P19! Seriously impressive there. Nicely done from Hibbert. They are going to be taking the lead of this qualifying for bronze. In the same way that Chris Wilson, currently on track, is in the lead of silver, but that might not stand for long because here goes Nilanatus, the number 12 Audi. Has got a substantial delta. If this goes to plan here, if they carry that delta home, they won't just leapfrog Chris Wilson, they could put a challenge to Hamby and start to reach into the 33s. Looks like, though, unfortunately, that one just at the very end had an invalidation and then just swept it out from under their own tyres. Never mind, could still tee up for a good final run. Let's see if they can make the improvement that they're looking for. Here we go. Is Friedrich. I'm going to refer to the first name because I'm a little conscious of that. Now, in the Mustang, pushing their way through. The number 208 certainly has got a point to prove here on this final lap. You see a little bit of dust and smoke getting kicked up from a couple of drivers having an excursion onto the grass. One can just hope that they haven't brought any kind of dirt or issues to the track surface. Dirty tyres and a surface grime is a concern. Keeping it clean. Not necessarily bringing a delta, but still keeping a good lap together. 30 seconds on the clock. You can already see plenty of drivers now heading in to that pit lane, deciding enough's enough. They're not going to get the improvements they were looking for. The bottom of the field is going to be in that exact boat, so most towards the bottom. Some with invalidations as well. Some just started laps, so let's see how they can bring it all together. Friedrich here. Coming up to the final sector of the course. Curva del Carro. Now swinging his way through the penultimate corner. Setting himself up for Misano. And looks like they're going to be heading into the pits. So not seeing the improvement they were looking for. And not committing to the lap in the end. A couple more cars now making their way through. As Gemma into the pits. RTPing. Damien Reed, of course. Driver with, oh, never mind. I thought we were going to be seeing an improvement there, but sadly not to be. Here comes Cutler, though. Could have a chance to make some jumps. Also check in with league owner Colin McNair, as he's currently sat in P12, but could have the delta to make this one a top 10. Closely followed by, I believe that is Johan there. So Johan Larson just crossing the line, getting not quite close enough to their run, and there you go. That is the retirement there. Wilson making his way through. McNair also coming up. Wilson could get a slight improvement with a good line at the final corner. But there we go. Unfortunately, not the improvement for Wolfsteiner was looking for. Can McNair make that jump and get that crucial position closer to the rest of the gold class field? Let's see what we can do. And there you go. Session is over. And McNair does get into P11. So with that, folks, that is your standing in full. David Lindblom is going to be holding a pole position here with a 32.742. KMR is going to be in second place, 33 flat, or 33.092 if you're counting, with Nicholas Björklund in third place, number 444 in the Mustang also, and carrying a solid 33.5. So quite a spread between the top three here in gold, but still some immaculate pace nonetheless. Matthias Holmberg is going to get a last-minute swing towards the top end with a 134.1, closely followed by Chris Wilson with a 34.230. Lenatus is going to be in P3. Unfortunately, didn't get that last-minute improvement that they were looking for, but still a solid time and warranting that third place on the podium here in Quali. Bronze, though, very, very different story. You have Anthony Hibbert with a astounding 34.4 and a whole half a second clear of Alex North, next closest in second place. Glenn Parkinson is going to be your third in the bronze class, and with that all being said, that is qualifying complete. So don't go anywhere, folks. Join us back in about 5 minutes time. We're going to take a short intermission as we get everything set up for the race. We have much to discuss, much to explain, but for now, we're going to take a short break to get the session restarted, and we'll be right back with you after a short moment. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for your patience as always. And with that, it is now time to get the race underway. We're just getting the grid formed and we're about to have our formation lap. But if you're new here, please do consider leaving a little bit of love on the stream. And if you enjoyed the qualifying, and hopefully you enjoy the race, but if you want to stick around, consider subscribing. We've got a whole season of this. We've not just got the Tuesday nights as well. If you want to get involved, we have the Monday Night Championship as well as other offerings. And we have a Facebook group as well as our Discord server. So do consider getting involved if this is something that's up your alley. But let's go trackside. Let's waste absolutely no time as the session is about to get underway. It's a 60-minute race with a mandatory pit stop, and that pit stop can either be just for fuel or it can be for fuel and tyres as well. It's a strategic call, of course, but the drivers have that discretion. So we'll see how they fare. Tonight's race is going to be, as said before the quali session, a lukewarm one. It's bittersweet. It's love it or hate it. Misano's certainly been a divisive one in the calendar. And particularly around turns 1 to 3, you do see a little bit of chaos. But hopefully, Things stay on the straight and narrow for the most part. And we don't have a situation like we had last time out where we called, I think, one of the first ever red flag restarts in series history. So it got that chaotic around Bathurst. I'm sure the drivers will be double checking their mirrors and being doubly aware of their track space, considering that happened last time. Well, it's looking good out there. 23 degrees ambient temp, 30 degrees surface, still keeping clear despite the overcast look. And from what I'm told, sounds like it's a bit of a different story to our Monday night races. So we'll get that track map up. As you can see, everyone coming up to the final few curves. This is where everyone is going to be forming up and then reducing their speed to go double file. We've got all manner of drivers. We have 32 drivers joining us this evening. And as always, wish them nothing but the best of luck. This is going to be a good race out there tonight. So you can see leader slowing right down to a crawl, then getting to our formation speed of 60 k's. Allows everyone to get double file and in the appropriate form. And you just have the ears out for race control to wave that green flag. But there you go, as a round cover Misano. The track is hot here for the 4th round of Season 8. Tuesday Night Championship here at SIMseniors. Let's do a little bit of racing, and here we go. Green light, the track is hot once more. Immediately, there's going to be a full push. You can see in the background that is going to be a dicey push. There is Wolfslener making his way through, but having a bit of an issue with Johan Larsson alongside. You got 2x2. 3 wide in certain places of the track. Looks like there's a little bit of a wobble towards the bottom of the field. We've already had some serious issues. We'll have to check back in with them in just a moment. But look to the front. There is contact flags, contact warnings appearing everywhere. Nobody is safe throughout all of this. We check in on a couple of cars. You can see already right down the bottom. A little bit of an extend there as Lindblom's just trying to get that early jump, get that getaway. And we will see him push the boat out in terms of the lead with him and Gamar trying to break away from Larson and Wolfslener right now. Still, you can see in the background, that's 2x2. So many drivers still sharing the same track space. Still trying to keep things on the straight and narrow, but all still looking to play for time, play for a little bit of position. Here's Wolfslener and Larsson going side by side through the final sector of the track. Still pushing on each other, getting those early positions. Looks like we have had a bit of an issue further down as well. We've got a lot to catch up on. Let's take a little bit of a look from the heli and see exactly what happened towards the bottom of the field. So this is the start of the race here. This is the replay. You can see 2 wide, 3 wide further up ahead. Little bit of contact, bit of concertina effect. And let's see exactly what happens. Into turn 2 and oh, yes, there you go. That's the kind of pinball that sometimes means sparks fly. We also had an incident later on, so this is on board with Carl Thompson here. Just on the chase to, I believe, Alex North. Comes up quite close. You can see making their way up and, ooh, contact there. You can see still very argy-bargy in terms of racing. People trying to find their footing at this point. Luckily, though, no major incident. We do have a retiree. That is going to be Peter Smith. That's the number 113 car. check in with exactly how that happened here. So, got caught up in a bit of the earlier shenanigans. And then let's see, the yellow flag that led to their retirement. Looks like they're peeling off to one side. And looks like, there you go, that's just him retiring the car. Deciding tonight is not the night. And then that was going to be their fill. So here's Lenatus. So he's made a little bit of a gain. In fact, he's leading currently for the silvers. So putting the work in, Holmberg tailing. It's a great showing here for all the drivers who's managed to make it through. Hebert, another driver who has managed to keep that clean break and has in fact managed to extend it to the likes of North and Thompson. We do have a couple of position changes further down as well. That's going to be Reed, Aldhouse, Larson, who is in fact getting a little bit too friendly with Ostrachars right there in the M4. Still keeps the nose in on the inside. Eventually having no choice but to peel out. Trying to size each other up, I believe, at this point. Just seeing what the other is going to do, trying to read their moves as best as they can. Not committing to anything decisive just yet. But still showing that they have the wherewithal and the pace to take the moves. The sooner you can make your opponent believe that they are slower than you, the sooner they make a mistake, and that's when you capitalize. You can see Cutler right now keeping very good proximity. McNair certainly feeling the pressure. A little bit of a slide kick as they come at Misano there. As we start out on the third lap, a little bit of a weave from Cutler. He was sort of briefly tucking the nose out and then assuming themselves back into the slipstream. You don't want to be too much in the slipstream for the corners because that is going to make your aero surfaces less effective. I'm just hearing, thanks to the live chat, Peter Smith had hardware issues, retiring from the race in order to avoid ruining anyone else as well. You know what? That is a good sport right there. Do really appreciate it. It's a shame about the hardware issues, but taking that sort of bigger person step and retiring in order to save the races of others, that is certainly honourable. So, Peter, of course, we wish you could have raced, but you have our respect and gratitude for being a good sport. We do wish it's fixed ASAP. Just checking back in with a few others as well out on course. Here's Peyton. A reminder, only AMG GT3. Looks to have a bit of a fresh coat of paint as well. Although very well could have had that at Bathurst. It was dark, a little bit harder to see the liveries. Either way, looking fast and looking fresh as they're chasing off the back of Randy Zimmer, who has dropped a little bit. Oh, looks like that was contact just in the background. That's Kamada and Hebert there. The two Ferraris coming together, tap at the rear. Well, be quick to get back out on track. So Hebert's managed to get a smooth getaway. Kamara not having quite the same luxury afforded as that is Aero, now making their way past as well on the start-finish straight. Unfortunate circumstance for them there. Got quite a condensed trio of cars in the middle pack as well. Cook, Bird, Reed. Damien taking a bit of a wider line compared to the Porsches. Or the Porsche and the Mustang, I should say. Here, just on board the dash of Cook here as he's trying to chase down Derek. Doesn't want to let them get away. And this is where Derek himself is in a bit of a precarious position. How much does he want to attack or defend? Too much attack leaves him open to Cook. Not enough attack leaves him permanently behind Damien. And dropping time fast, in fact. Cook is sniffing out the spot, peeks a little bit to the outside. Just not quite getting the window of opportunity. We're not even 10 minutes into this race and it's already been pretty intense, I have to say. We've still got fighting up and down the course. Say what you want about Misano, but it's certainly entertaining for us here at home. Jump aboard with the likes of Larson. Let's take a look at how they are faring. Currently P19. Although relative to class, that is going to make them P9. Facing down on Aldhouse. And Cook has got a little bit closer to Derek, but the interesting thing is that Derek is in gold. They're not the same classes. It's not worth the same fight. If anything, he just needs to get past Bird so he can fight with Reed, his real opponent. We jump our way around. We see everyone looking to either settle in or fight hard. There's no in-between here in the heart of Italy. You either commit to the attack, as we've seen with Rog getting the move on Aero, or you play for time, you play it safe, like we have Cook doing. Not quite getting past Bird, but still showing they have the moxie and the wherewithal to keep that proximity and let them make their own mistake for the chance to be given. Plenty of drivers now starting to peel out gaps of their own, particularly towards the top of the field. Lindblom, 3.7 seconds clear of JMR. Wolfslener, 5 seconds away. So even further of a gap. Johan Larsson, about 1.5 to Wolfslener, currently in P4. So the top end has started to break itself clear of each other, but the mid-pack is far from such a situation. Holmberg and Linatas are in very close quarters. And they really can see themselves coming to blows in just a couple of apexes time. Depending on who drops the ball or who plays for the aggressive move. Linatas taking a bit of a wider line there, looking to take more speed on exit. So far successful. We do have a higher speed section here, Cavoni. Keeping the foot firmly pinned to the floor. You can see 252 kilometers an hour before a slight yield, heading into Curva del Carro. The race is young and the racers are feisty. Just over 10 minutes in now. And there's no true driver to be watching. We've still got battles up and down the score. We'll check in with Richard Cook, see if he's potentially going to make that move on Derek here. Oh, here we go. Pokes the nose to the left. Doesn't commit to it. I don't think he quite can. Proximity still not enough. See, taking a bit of curb there is Cook. I think we saw it so much in qualifying with invalidations, track limits, abusing the curbs, that I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of laps being flagged. Maybe stewards even getting involved with some of these penalties. Remember, in this championship, we do have points penalties in the standings as well. So particularly if you are making incidents with other drivers, it will cost you. There's also, as rightly pointed out, track cuts and warnings resulting in time pens, maybe drive-throughs. If you mess up the pits, you never truly know. What we do know right now is that this set of cars right here. Aldhouse, Cook, Bird, they're all in a bit of a squabble. And even Patrick Larson getting involved. They're in quite the personal scuffle. You have a couple of other drivers as well who are looking to push here. Here's Engdahl. Back of Larson. And back on the hunt. Half a second splits them, but that Nismo, as we know, is quite the quick machine. It's not going to get outclassed. Luckily, we do have a very robust BOP. But we will still see the individual strengths of the cars start to come to fruition. There you go. You can see Engdahl closing that gap, but will it be enough to turn that close in to a position? Well, with Lindblom currently holding not only first place, but fastest lap, safe to say that they are breaking from the field and they are having a pretty smooth ride. Larson 2.6 seconds away from Wolfslener means that they can't quite close in the same way either. We can see a couple of cars actually heading into the pits now already. Quite an early point of the race. 15 minutes in. We're already going to see Richard Cook jump into the pit lane. Maybe there's a bit of damage playing a persuasive factor in that early drop. Either way, we will see drivers leapfrogging them. One can only hope they will get that back on time with that strong undercut. Well, Hebert is going to be hot on the heels of Craig Niesbet. That's the 331 McLaren. Certainly going to give it a little bit of press and a little bit of sniff as he's getting very close to the rear bumper. Certainly scoping him out to see where he can go for a potential overtake. So Hebert currently sat P5 with Alex North being the driver to lead the bronze. Hebert was on such good form, but unfortunately they did have that altercation with Kamara, meaning they both got displaced down towards the bottom of this order. Very nice looking car, despite all that, however. Time is not on their side. We may see, as rightly pointed out, drive-throughs starting to be a factor. So Cook through the pits. I think Cook did, in fact, have a drive-through because their pit time is showing 0 seconds. Robert Homer might be in the same boat. Yeah, so that was the number 182 car of Cook clearing a drive-through penalty. Can confirm now on the logs. Apologies for that slight miss there. It looks like Robert Homer is in the same boat. That's the number 6. Check back in with Engdahl as they are still hot on the heels of Larson here. Are we seeing a drive-through clear? Looks like Robert Homer is genuinely going into the pits. Well, that was a genuine stop, not a drive-through clear. A couple of different drivers still seeking out those gains and those positions they so desperately desire. Carl Thompson. They can close the gap to Hughes. They can start inching away at North's lead and take the lead for bronze for themselves. So, a lot rides on this for them. This could be the championship stead that they were looking for. See Peyton in a similar boat, not to the same extent, but Randy Zimmer being right in the crosshairs is going to help matters. See a brief yellow flag as Robert Homer rejoins the track surface following their pit stop. So at this point of the race, ladies and gentlemen, we've started to hit what I like to call a point of equilibrium. It's where, barring a couple of exceptions, drivers aren't necessarily looking to push on position. And, oh, a bit of a wobble there from Hebert as I say that. He's peeking the nose in on Glenn Parkinson, trying to get that push. Looks like the nose in was a bit too much for their car to handle. Still keeping very close track. Practically stuck to the rear bumper of that McLaren as we now head through Cavone. And peeking around the left side. Again, not wanting to be too much in the slipstream. That will harm their aerodynamics. And even in certain cases, it can harm your cooling. Vitally important keeping those tyres and those brakes in the operating window. Otherwise, you might see some pretty inconsistent grip and brakes levels. Especially those tyres. They start blistering. You are off into the walls faster than you can say, ouch, that burns. We're jumping on board quickly with Engdahl just to check in on him and see how he's getting on with the chase for Larsson's position. So far, it looks to be a stalemate between the two. One draws closer, one takes a slightly more defensive line. Rinse, repeat, ad nauseum. Although we could see Engdahl start to get more aggressive as the laps go by. We are on lap 12 and 20 minutes in. It's not looking like any major action is set to kick off just yet. We do see a closing of the gap with a certain few characters, as this is Peyton once again on Zimmer, but Damien Reed has decided to join the party. Got a break away from Derek, and Aldhouse much further away means that these four now, as Derek has closed the gap substantially in the last sector, will have a bit of an opportunity to play. We do see a little bit of a yellow flag coming out, as this one is going to be Hebert. Let's see what's gone on with him. He's gone off the track. Let's chance it with exactly what happened. So, again, chasing down, that's going to be Glenn Parkinson, number 77 McLaren. Makes their way through, dips down on the brakes as they head out into Del Carro, and just, oh, that's dangerous, very dangerous, barely brakes before they cross over the track surface again. Dodging a bullet there. That could have gone very badly. Well managed there from Hebert. That very much could have been a disaster. We do see as well Glenn Parkinson having a rare wobble, as we have Andy Aldhouse pitting in for a clearing, also having received a drive-through penalty. They will be demoted now to 28th, just behind Richard Cook. Let's see what's going on. And oh, we jump in just to see Kamara and Parkinson tip each other over the edge, as that is going to be a very unfortunate move out of Tramonto. You see he's rejoining Kamara onto the track surface. Parkinson getting away by a few seconds. And then Kamara having to go back behind a familiar car, although I'm not sure they're so happy to see him. Bird is heading into the pits, leaving room for the Silvers to fight amongst themselves properly. And then further up, we have Cutler along with Engdahl now trying to close their own gaps to their own racing rivals. which leaves some of the leaders practically in hot lapping mode. I mean, look at Lindblom, currently 6 seconds ahead of the next closest car. And even the car behind that, another 5. The gaps are really starting to amount, and this effectively allows the drivers to run clean and consistent. The only time they lose out is on slipstreams. But that more than is made up for with consistency and timing. Either way, looking seriously rapid as they come up to the line, averaging about a 33.8. Previous best time, 33.2. And still outpacing a significant chunk of the field by at least a few tenths per lap. That's the separator, and that's what's got them a now 6.5 second lead to the next fastest driver. AMR is on to a winner if they can just keep consistent, but Engdahl is certainly looking to bare their teeth. P4 on the horizon, Larson still in the crosshair. Other drivers have found their own spaces on the course. You can see on that track map, fairly displaced around the distance. And even starting to get into some similar shared territory. As a few racers are starting with a bit of time to make up. Homer, for example, has taken their pit stop. And that does mean they will be dealing with some lapping traffic. Glenn Parkinson, though, into the pits, likely following that altercation to get some repairs while satisfying their strategy. Going to leave a interesting duel as Larson and Engdahl finally commit to the attack, to the plunge. Let's see, once again, the move that made it happen. So you can see just going up into Cavone at the top end of the circuit. A crucial positioning advantage for Engdahl with a bit of speed combined to make a solid overtake for P4. Here comes Damien as well, with the field looking like his oyster. He sits P15, also known as P6 for silver. Right now, just focused on catching to Peyton. Bit of a wobble over the curbs there. You got an interesting first sector with Misano. It's a sharp right-hander, then left and right chicanes again, double apexed into Curva del Rio. And then it is almost street circuit-esque in the sharpness of the corners before you open up to the middle straight. Was looking like a giant T. I didn't know any better. Or a pickaxe with an extension on the handle. Cook currently sat P25 and quick to capitalise on a mistake. Craig Morrison going a bit too wide out through Curva del Rio, easily handing on a silver platter for the pink Mustang. I do have to appreciate some of these paints and some of these liveries. They really do take the cake and set these racers apart in a big way. Even the slight variations, they bring in a sense of artistry to the circuit. Here is Peyton along with Patrick Larson now jumping into the pits at the 28-minute mark of the race. Or 27-minute technically. But that is going to give Damien Reed a little bit of a freebie. Osterschars, North, Hughes, Thompson all benefiting the same way. Nisbet, Heber and Kamara likely to also get their kicks from that. Let's check in towards our top 10s, however, as Cutler is still on the back of McNair. Now, I don't know about you folks watching at home, but if I was in his position, I would certainly be getting a little more impatient. I'd be anxiously chomping at the bit to try and close that gap, even if it means a little bit of a dive. To just close the distance, throw them off even. You don't want to be having any contact, but you do want to be putting your opponents on edge. That's going to be what forces them into a mistake, what gives you that window to attack and make the position. While a couple of other cars are working their way around. Here is Aldhouse chasing down with Craig Morrison. Bird is going to get a position as Patrick Larson leaves the pits and Jace Payton emerges onto the circuit as well. They were sat quite cozily on a P27. So we have a fight between Ero and Roger. Roger taking a very wide line, not quite keeping that car on optimal positioning. So making quick work of the top end of the circuit. Roger is going to be on the back foot. Well, looks like we have a car running a little bit slow, or at least having an issue. This one's going to be Holmberg here. Oh, yes, there's certainly a technical issue with that Ferrari. Not looking good whatsoever. Check in with some of the other cars. Here is McNair emerging out of the pits. Where will they emerge? On the circuit. Rejoins the surface just ahead of Roger. And with Aldhouse now chasing down Morrison a bit more. The fight's certainly on. Briefly had Damien Reed alongside Randy Zimmer. Short-lived attack, but a welcome one. So they try their best to get an easy spot. Just checking in on Holmberg as well. Seems like their car is well and truly on limp, as they begrudgingly peel into the pits, barely avoid the Ferrari there. There you go. That is Carl Thompson also in. So that is Mark Hughes. Thompson briefly freaking out my timing board. So, no, I don't believe that Thompson is in the lead of the race. They're not currently holding that. Lindblom is still the leader. The timing board has just had a bit of a moment. That will reset itself in due course. Right at the half-hour mark, ladies and gentlemen, we do see our race leader heading into the pits. Lindblom is, in fact, going to be jumping in now. Quickly getting themselves either a fresh set of boots or a fresh tank of fuel. Here we go. Here's Damien Reed once again. Going to be peeking at the chance on Randy Zimmer. Not quite. You can see how much he wants it. He's really trying to go for any opportunity he can. He's hunting, lying in wait, making opportune strikes, but nothing's sticking. Björklund, Linatas joining Lindblom in the pits. They will emerge a little bit later out, but getting it early will mean the undercut has potential to really strike a good amount of distance up. Let's see if that's exactly what they plan to leverage, as Nisbet is now into the pits too. Checking in with leader McNair, the leader of the league and server. P17 currently.
although did get a very quick time. That was in the 33s. I now see passing over the large chunk of drivers in the pits, but here comes Björklund. Right up the side of the Nismo. Is McNair going to be on the defensive here? There's a drive-through penalty being cleared for Nisbet, the number 331 car, so they will not be claiming the freebie pit. They will have to go in again, and go in fairly soon, I imagine. We got Frederick on the inside, heading through the top end of the circuit. Hold the apexes, hold the lines, and that's how you got the position. Nicely done. Emma North taking over position from Ostrachars as they head into the pits. That means that North is now going to be holding onto that lead for bronze and holding onto it very substantially. We are talking a gap of over 10 seconds, if not more. It's going to be likely more, about 25 seconds. Here we go. Lean into the power of the Lexus. Show the speed. Looks like he has it this time. P3 here. But Damien Reed, Randy Zimmer having to concede defeat after a couple of laps attempts. Now looking towards the bottom. We see the pit board and the timing board has reset. Wolfslener, Nisbet, both in. Alex North also heading in. Meaning that the two bronze drivers currently in the lead are going to be holding on. It's a couple of positions being traded through no on-track action, but pit action. Wolfslener, Nisbet, North being in the pits means that this is a chance for drivers to once again do a bit of leapfrogging. Liam Blom and Gamma, of course, jump in on the opportunity to take Wolfslener down a peg. With their undercut stop, they have in fact come out ahead on top. Wolfslener, in fact, barely missing out on a bit of an altercation there, as that is one of the Porsches that are fighting with some real performance. Looks like we're having a couple of hiccups with the timing board, and I can only apologise for that, ladies and gentlemen. We do hopefully have it ironed out in not too long. Justin is still on the hunt for Björklund's spot. Johan Larsson heading into the pits. And with 37 minutes down, 23 to go, here is your standings at this point in time. So Damien Reed has yet to take a stop, but has yet to yield as they hold on to the crown. It may be brief, but they will still champion it. Randy Zimmer's going to be a very close gap behind. And then you get to the drivers who have pitted in, like Lindblom, Gemma, and Wolfslemer. Great racing all round, although not to be outdone, as drivers in the mid and lower pack have had their own stories to tell this race. Stories of massive gains, of big losses. Holmberg down in P19, for example. P20, my mistake. That's down on 11 places relative to the start. Well, some big winners and losers out tonight. Big winner is going to be Carl Thompson. They made up 6 positions. Greg Morrison up on 5. Alex North also up on 5. So that is going to be a crucial element. Whether drivers can consider themselves happy with how their session has gone. It's Peyton and Wilson duking it out. Really showing their stuff. Couple of position changes for the likes of Engdahl and Larson as Reed heads into the pits. Björklund hot on the heels of Justin Cutler, trying to really put some pressure down on them. The pit strategies deviating has meant a little bit of confusion, but we are back on track. No pun intended whatsoever. But the only driver left to put a pit stop on the board is going to be none other than Randy Zimmer. 9 seconds ahead of Liam Blom, which they are going to lose the position for. But let's see if this overcut has worked in their favour. See now coming in. GMR 7.8 seconds ahead of Wolfslander. Now, they're also 8 seconds behind Lindblom, so if they keep a cool head and just run it to the end, I honestly think they're going to be just fine. Randy Zimmer finally heading into the pits themselves, as the session is now fully done for pits. 20 minutes left to go. The drivers are showing their mettle now. We've had the early mad dash. We have had the middle stable point. And now comes the end race choice. Do you go aggressive and push on the time to try and gain position? Or do you hang back, conserve your spot, but risk either getting overtaken or not leveraging the full opportunity of the race? What school of thinking are you going to subscribe to in that scenario? Are you going to be a shark? Or are you going to be a minnow? Zimmer now making their way out of the pits. They'll be rejoining around point 16 in the order. Luckily staving off 17th by a substantial margin, with Ostrachards only just making their way around and through Curva del Rio. Down to the bottom of the field is Mark Hughes. Morrison is going to be firmly ahead of them. But will that firmly ahead stay? This is the issue. Hughes could be teeing up for something here, but a bit of a wobbly exit out for Ram Del Rio has hurt their chances on the attack. Looks like we do have an issue, however. This one is going to be Randy Zimmer. Let's see exactly what happened for such an incident to occur. So we can see here on the way through, heading into Del Caro. And pushing through. Looks like they're just running slow. Looks like they have, like others, a bit of a limp mode going on. Yeah, these timing boards are going to be fritzing out just a little. As for a second, they all flash red and then green and then red again. Morrison is going to be the driver on a mission as they look to hunt Hughes down. Cook is doing much of the same. Remember, they had a drive-through penalty to contend with, so we know they're capable of more. But the DT really did squeeze them there. In other news, we have had drive-through penalties for the number 331 car. That's going to belong to Craig Niesbet. The 992 car from Aero Vasuri. We have 495 car. That will be Mark Hughes. And then the number 138 car of none other than Mr. Andy Aldhouse. So they've had 2 drive-through penalties, unfortunately, which means Aldhouse is currently marooned in P28. Chasing down Robert Homer very closely, but beyond that, there's no other cars around either side for at least 10 seconds. Cook is the hunter. And the hunter has slipped up. It's like they were yielding to blue flag. Cook is still hungry for the spot. Looks like they're going to have their wish granted as they go side by side through Misano. And just like that, quick work. Cook in at P20. And the racers pulling double duty. With 15 minutes to go, it all comes down to this. Looks like we do have Randy Zimmer now coming out of the pit lane. With a bit of a longer stop, it seems. So they're all the way down at the bottom, P31. Always a shame to see a race not go your way. We do have a familiar face who we haven't quite checked in with the cameras in a long time. Here's Paul Hamby. Of course, no longer running the Lamborghini, but switched to the Woking outfit. A sizable advantage to Peyton means that they have no chance of having to worry about defense. That can be saved for after they overtake Linatus. Just in the way that Cutler is saving all words to the end of the presentation and all questions for McNair too. Björklund is lying closely in wait, so this could become a trio battle before we know it. Kamada needs a bit of recovery. Still on a united position with Hebert. I'm sure he's absolutely thrilled. And the hunting for position is going to be fierce and swift. Just taking a moment to observe Kamada's movements, and finally they're going to be teeing up something against Hebert here. They're side by side heading in to the top half of the circuit, and most importantly, Kamada has the apexes. Hebert is on the back foot, and oh no! Second verse, same as the first. Kamara around Hebert. Not sure what's going on here, but I think the stewards are certainly going to have their work cut out for them. Real unfortunate turn of events. So that is Kamara out of running effectively. Second spin out. That really has put them much lower in the order. It's P24. They didn't actually lose more than a couple of positions. But those couple of positions have consequences. Here we go, is Reed making a move on Derek Bird. Nicely done through the inside, making a quick move. Decisive, precise, and Reed into 13th. Nicely done. And a quality push there. We see that Larson is hot on the heels of that move from the two ahead. They can see about where they could attack. Derek Bird is going to be a little bit shaken from the overtake, and that could be a key window of opportunity for the Ferrari here to capitalize. Just taking a moment to observe the interaction. Looks like we have a Hamby who has taken a bit of a positional drop. We had a couple of yellow flags briefly being waved for the incident with Kamara earlier. Luckily that has seemed to have straight up. Let's have things, put all of our eggs in order. Let's all settle in and see what these racers are doing. So let's take it from the very top, shall we? Liam Blom currently is our leader with 10.6 seconds away from Frederick Gayamar in second. I mean, he said seventh there, forgive me. Wolfslander is going to be a closely knit third, and then you can see Engdahl, Larson, McNair, Cutler, Björklund in the rest of the top cohort in the gold class. Silver is going to be held primarily by Lenatus right now, really putting some great work in to lead their respective division. It's going to be James Payton in P11 and Net P2 over 10 seconds away, with Chris Wilson closely following behind in the Vantage. Gotta say, looking nice and clean, and that Vantage does sound gnarly indeed. Look into the bronzes. We have an interesting story. Of course, it was previously Hebert, but the best they can do right now is third, as Alex North is going to be your one to watch, leading that group. Thompson in P19, but P2, and then P21, aka P3, is going to be that Ferrari. Just quickly yielding and making way for Peter Wolfslander. Blue flag rules, of course, applying. Well, let's see how these races do, as there's still plenty of time left. You've still got about 5 laps before the checkered flag is set to fall. 32 laps in. And the racers are really going to be showing their moxie. They face off against talent like this. You will be put with some stiff competition, and they are not going to take it so easy on you. So eyes right now firmly trained on Larson, being the driver closest in proximity to another car. Although not to be outdone, Kamada is also chasing on Craig Morrison still. Excellently controlled from many drivers. Because it's not just an attacking job, it's also defensive work that needs to be done. Case in point, Cutler. Björklund has been on the chase. But Cutler isn't necessarily willing to budge. The Nismo is really putting the Mustang here through its paces. A quick and decisive move here could be essential. Björklund is dropping away a bit in terms of split and time. Really going to be needing a bit of improvement. And oh, there's a mistake. Cutler goes a bit too deep there. And out of Delgado. Or is that... No, forgive me. That is wrong on my part. Oh no, Cutler's making his way back through as they go through Cavone at the very top. Looks very dicey there. They're going to go both off track a little bit. They're really pushing each other to the limit now. And as the final 5 minutes quickly close in, Cutler is once again on the defensive, briefly shaken by a mistake, but Björklund still just as hungry as ever for the position. Larson in the same boat. Derek Bird waiting on the horizon. And even Aldhouse could be looking to get involved with a fight of their own very, very soon. But look how close he's drawing to the rear bumper of that Porsche. Mightily rapid. Aldhouse unfortunately dropping away. Making a mistake, and see, taking a little bit of a wobbly line as we cut away to them. It looks like Kimura also on the hunt, chasing Craig Morrison to the point where they went narrow, had a wobble on the exit of the corner. Looking real swift and real feisty coming out from these drivers. But time is of the essence. Holmberg, curiously enough, is going to be heading through the pits. I wonder, did they get a drive-through? I do have to wonder what's going on with this Ferrari. Emerging out of the pit lane, so yes, that is a drive-through penalty being served, and they are now down into P21. Here we go. Final stretch, final push. We are in what is essentially the last 2 laps. We had a drive-through being cleared for number 141. That'll be Randy Zimmer. Bit of smoke being kicked up. Ooh, something's happened with Lenatus. What has happened there? Let's get the helicopter on it. See exactly what occurred. Is he making their way through Del Rio? And, oh, just spinning the car. Luckily, quick to wheel it off. Make sure there's no casualties. Get themselves back in that running. The mistakes are going to start popping up, it seems, as that's going to be Hamby. Going to be yielding to, I think that's Raj in the number 420. Still other cars in. Whoa! Wait a minute, Patrick Larson, what is going on? We see you skipping the apex. We see you spinning on the apex as well. Oh, Caro. What exactly happened there? We cut away to the perfect time. Just to capture Larson having a large mistake. Lucky for them, with the time deficit that was gained, not actually lost out that much. It's dropped space, sure, to Bird, but it's not actually lost position. There you go, you hear the call from race control. An hour of racing has elapsed, 37 laps in, and concluding soon. Liam Blom has passed the checkered, well, not checkered flag, but has passed the soon-to-be checkered flag. With the final lap being called. The cutler on the back of McNair, so the defender could be turning to the attacker before we know it. We are coming up to the start finish, and a good run here. Any of the drivers really could be a serious boon to their race efforts. Here we are on the vantage, going very wide. Chris Wilson not quite keeping the chase to Peyton here, but as we zone in on a certain R35, it's a familiar sight to see, but still a welcome one. A driver who has not really put a foot wrong this entire race. They've kept to themselves. They've not had any drama, any fuss. And now, as we make our way through to the final couple of corners, we say hello to yet again race winner David Lindblom. Round 4 of Season 8 is under their belt and crossing the line swiftly. That is going to be a strong result and even more points in the Nismo's favour. See Alex North peeling off to the side of the track, having finished for them and taking the win for the Bronze 2 to boot. Carl Thompson is going to be in that second place position for bronze, and then Gamer is in second for gold, with a Wolfslenner peeling up alongside the other two winners. You can see very nice compose for what looks to be a bit of a group photo. Smile for the camera, ladies and gentlemen. You've got a nice podium set here. Let's sort of observe them in all their glory. There you go, flash the lights, give us a little bit of love. And there you have it. So, great racing all around. We do have a last minute bump between Reed and Wilson, but it looks like in the end of it all, throughout the chaos, we have a certain Audi, even after a brief spin. Looks like Wilson's had a massive drop. We'll check in with them. But here we go. Linatus takes the win for the Silvers, with Peyton closely following and Damian Reed into third position. Great stuff there on the silver line of the coast. But then Craig Morrison is going to be your P3 holder. We'll quickly see exactly what happened with Wilson for them to drop down in such a dramatic fashion. But a rough end, it looks like. See, oh, there you go, contact and serious off, smashing into the wall. There you go, up to the end of the session, and that is time, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, you can check out the full standings on things like our site, and also for podium announcements and more. If you are involved as a racer, or you want to get involved as a racer, you will be seeing it in our Discord. But that is where we leave it for tonight.
I wanted to thank you all for another great round. Now, don't go too far, however, because we do still have to talk about round 5. Now, we do have a bit of a favourite and a bit of a national track, or one that is certainly close to a few different drivers' hearts. We're heading back to England. We are heading to none other than Silverstone. Silverstone is certainly one of those tracks that it's a staple of a calendar. It's a staple of the field, and it is a dream to drive, in my opinion. It's challenging, it's fast, and it's certainly going to put your drivers through their paces. But that is next time. This time, we are going to be saying goodbye for a short break. We are going to be having a week's break in between now and Silverstone, so of course, keep your eyes firmly peeled on the calendar for any announcements we put out on our socials. And for now, my name has been Ben Sapsford. It's been great taking you through this round, and I will see you all very soon. Have a good night, all the rest of your day, wherever you are in the world, and we will see you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks? 2 weeks for Silverstone in round 5. Take care, and good night.